Hello, welcome back to the Arturia Synthi tutorial series. Today we're dealing with a pretty big deal as far as this synthesizer is concerned. The envelope shaper is one of the more idiosyncratic modules you'll come across, and something that really helps to define this synth as the unique beast it is. Let's dive straight in. We've got a really simple sound oscillator into envelope, envelope into filter, filter out. That's what we've got. The moment I press a key, we hear it instantly. The moment I let go, it stops instantly. Nice and simple. Most of the settings, or some of the settings on the envelope shaper, you'll be thoroughly familiar with. The attack specifies how long the sound takes to appear after we press our key. And even at its maximum duration, or right up at the very end, when we get towards 10, take a reasonable amount of time, but it's actually a really fast attack envelope. Can you see all the time that the envelope is open? In other words, all the time that we're hearing sound, this red light is on. That's important. We'll come back to that. Every time we make a change to the envelope, we're going to be holding the gate open for longer. We're going to be letting more signal through. So the on knob here, very unhelpfully named on, is basically your hold control. Now when it's set all the way down to 0, this knob has no effect. But as I start increasing this, it's going to introduce an extra period of time for which the gate's held open after I let my key go. So if I press a really fast note on the keyboard, I'll bring my attack right down. So all we've got is on, and I'll play a really quick note. That amount of time that it carried on after I let the key go is the hold level. So when it's off, the envelope's only open for as long as I've held the key down. As soon as I let the key go, it stops, and this adds an extra amount of time on top of the key being held down. Decay is our release, and that's pretty straightforward as well. So all of that, pretty standard stuff. Attack, hold, release, yep, we've seen all of those kind of features in many synths. The unique knob is this one. This is a retrigger control. Now, with it currently set to maximum, this is its default position, the knob has no effect. But as we start to bring this knob backwards, it's going to re-trigger the entire envelope completely spontaneously. And now the synthesizer starts making its own sounds. The speed or the rate at which those envelope re-triggers occur increases as I pull this knob back. So it's a rate knob that gets slower and slower and slower until at its limit it's infinite, and therefore it never re-triggers. Really weird implementation. Kind of cool though. Now, you see the light on the envelope shaper, it's barely even lighting. It's because every time the envelope is triggering, there's very little amount of time that it's actually making any sound for. But if I make it last longer, you see that the light comes on for longer. I'll just shut it up for a moment while I talk about this, because this is vital to understanding the period of the re-triggering. With this re-trigger mechanism on, basically the envelope is in infinite mode. It's going to re-trigger every single time the envelope has finished its last period. We've got two different timing systems here, in conflict in some respects, but they do work pretty harmoniously. The re-trigger knob says how often am I going to fire the envelope. But if the envelope length takes longer than that period of time, then the envelope length wins the debate. So it doesn't matter how fast we set this re-trigger control, the entire length of the envelope, how long we take on our attack, our hold, and our release phases, that's going to override the default speed control. Pretty easy to demonstrate rather than talk about it. Let's just see it in action. So if I make this pretty fast, and now start to increase different aspects of the envelope, you can hear the retriggers slowing down. That's because the envelope takes precedence over the retrigger rate. So this is how fast the module wants to retrigger, but it will wait patiently until the full envelope has been completely drawn before beginning its next command. So if we take the envelope right back to effectively 0 length again, we just get these pops. And conversely, if I send this really, really slow, there's a very long period of time in between the envelope completely doing its job. It's almost instantaneous, and then it waits for the retrigger period to occur. Got two different outputs coming from the envelope shaper. The one that we've dealt with pretty much since day one is envelope signals. That's our audio level. And got independent control over that knob. We can also manually activate the envelope by physically clicking the attack button. And as long as I hold that button down, it's going to carry on making the sound. As soon as I let the button go, it stops. But in addition to the audio signal, we also have a control voltage shape. So this envelope, well, at the moment it's basically of no shape. But if I give it some, if I introduce an attack and some hold and some decay, now that shape that's being drawn by the control voltages is manifesting as an audio signal, and we're hearing it, that's fine. But we can also take the control voltage shape itself and apply that as a modulation effect. And we do that with the trapezoid setting. So if because we've got a filter in this circuit here, so we've got access to a filter frequency. So I'm going to take an output from the trapezoid module into filter frequency, and now this envelope is going to apply itself to the filter frequency, and we're going to get a classic analog sound. A little bit more attack. So that's an example of the envelope doing two completely different jobs. It's controlling the volume of the sound through its attack and its decay and all the rest of the stuff, but it's also applying control modulation effects via its trapezoid output. Now, one little Easter egg concerning the trapezoid envelope is that it can also be used as an output effect. Going back to this mixing of the sources and treatments, remember the two modules that are capable of generating audio outputs. The second one is the trapezoid. Now, on its own, if I make the trapezoid the only output and I'm going to get the envelope shaper kind of doing its thing. So you can hear that click. Now, that's pretty useless on its own. But if I reintroduce the envelope signal as well, let's do it one at a time. Firstly, I'll bring the envelope signal in. So that's what it sounds like. Now let's overlay that trapezoid click over the top of the envelope signal and see what happens. You get a kind of boom, a ticking boom. So again, that's a control voltage signal being used as an output effect. The click actually having an effect on the sound that can be used by sound designers. One last feature to cover is the control input has a decay setting. So this is the decay for the envelope shaper, and this is why we talked about the joystick knob last time, because I'm going to use this to demonstrate this feature. So what I'm going to do is connect the joystick's X control to the envelope decay. Now please don't shoot the messenger, the joystick works in the correct orientation for the decay knob. So if I pull it to the left, we get a short decay. Move it to the right, we get a long decay. Shrug. That's it for the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing, hit notifications. I'll catch you for the next one. Thanks very much for watching.